How you doing, lovelies? I uploaded some yoga videos. It's kind of an interesting thing. So I had a very old school teacher, and I think I've been certified for 10 years now. And a lot of the old school thinking is you don't show off as a teacher. I know you can be educational. I get it. I know it's not all showing off. I get it. Despite appearances, I don't love being in front of a camera. But I did have to get used to that for certain things for one of my jobs. And when you have a yoga wellness thing and you lead people on hikes and stuff like that, and you do events, you do need to take pictures, and often you have to be in them, although I usually hiding somewhere, and I'd rather take pictures of my students. But I'm more comfortable with the videos going fast. And that's probably a little bit of insecurity on my part, to be honest, because I'll critique myself like, oh, I don't have an axial extension of the spine. Oh, my knee is bent or my foot's not flexed, which I know is just like so over the top and ridiculous, but I can be a little hard on myself about stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of that ideology that was like put in my head of like, you don't take pictures of yourself doing yoga, you don't shoot videos of yourself doing yoga, you stay humble and you don't show off. And then another part is definitely insecurity. Sorry, I keep touching my arm. Something bit me, and it doesn't look like a regular mosquito bite, but it's itchy as heck. So today is my oldest niece's 20-year anniversary of her death. I cannot believe it. This is the one that passed away when she was 18, 4 months after her sister, who was 15, Kristen. So Kylene's been gone 20 years, and I didn't remember. My oldest daughter messaged me and had built a little shrine for her today and bought these beautiful sunflowers for her. I thought that was so sweet. So I'd posted something on my Instagram as a tribute. And then it's so funny because it like wasn't in my mind. This is how crazy we are as humans. This is how our brain works. And I got super choked up and emotional driving to work today. I started to cry, and I was like, this is so funny. I wouldn't have ever even remembered if my daughter didn't message me. But that's just humanity. That's just how we roll. I'm still in agony with my pain and shoulder. I'm not exaggerating. I have a really high tolerance for pain, and no one knew. That is so how Scorpio of me. We're quite stoic, and we can be reserved and not tell people all, but it's other aspects in my chart that I think let me come on here and do this. I was a lot more private in my younger years. Actually, I would never go on camera and share so much about myself, but so no one knew. I didn't tell anybody, and by the 5th class I was dying. All the stuff that I had slathered on myself in the early morning has completely worn down, and it's really bad. It hurts to the touch. It feels like it's deep in the muscle. So there's something else going on, and the pain is so bad in the middle of the night, and it almost feels the way my body felt when I had COVID, and that's how my body feels. I was so beyond sick. They say if you have an existing viral load, because I'm a type O blood type, so most type O blood types didn't get sick at all. So I was wiped out, like could barely get out of bed, severely dehydrated, living alone at that time, in South Carolina. My kids were in New Jersey. I just moved into the apartment. I had nobody. I didn't know a soul. And I literally couldn't move. It was the worst pain I've ever been in my life. And if you don't know why I put COVID in air quotes, I don't know what to tell you. You'll figure it out. I have full faith in you. But I'm not saying COVID wasn't real, but I have my thoughts about things. So it feels, the pain, the body pain is that bad in that area. And then it goes up the side of my neck into my jawline, my ear, and radiates throughout the side of my head and the back of my head. I mean, it's been awful. I didn't know how I was going to make it through today. I'm just grateful that I did. And I didn't show face, but my last 2 classes were much easier on me because I could maneuver them to be that way because of the clientele. So I was very, very thankful for that. But yeah, so today's an interesting day. I start crying about something that I wouldn't even remembered if I wasn't reminded. But I was listening to this guy this morning, and his name is, I want to say, Mark Bowden, Bowden. I hope I'm getting this man's name right. I will put it in the description box and correct myself if I'm wrong. This video was a TED Talk from 9 years ago. It really was riveting. He studies behavior, like body posture and mannerisms. And he's like the leading expert. He is international. He's from the UK, he has an accent. I want to say it was British. This is how much I paid attention to that. I was really into the content. And he's a pleasure to watch on stage. He's an excellent speaker. And it was about how you should be more inauthentic. And I'm like, did I read that right? And this was 9 years ago, and how did I never see this? And there were actually people commenting saying how he's not one of the most famous or popular TED Talks out there, and that they felt he should be getting more attention in his work. But he's known he dominates the field that he's in. You know, maybe not in America because he's from overseas, and he was saying how we are primed to be indifferent. Humans are primed to be indifferent towards one another. We're actually primed to be uncaring and apathetic. And within the talk, and I'm not going to do this justice, so try to Google it if you're interested and watch it, but I get very fascinated by stuff like this because he really challenged my beliefs. I don't know if I completely agree with him whole hog, but I get what he's saying. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because I just talked the other day, my Saturday night session video, on how Trevor Noah was saying you can be too authentic. And I happenstance upon a video that says you should be more inauthentic. And I'm like, oh, this is so fascinating. Probably the algorithms, right? You know, AI and all that fun stuff. So he changed his behavior and mannerisms on stage, which was very clever, to demonstrate what he was trying to convey without using so many words. And then he got, very wordy at the end because he was explaining everything. But he's basically was trying to convince you that being friendly and kind and nice is a necessary evil, even if you are not primed that way, and it goes against your internal compass and grain, and you are more just direct, or you are who you are, and you don't fake things or make pleasantries. He was saying you will win people over, that this is the way to be successful in life and have strong business partnerships and friendships. And it's basically, it is a little bit being fake. I mean, it is what he was saying. And he was like, do you think I wanted to come do this TED Talk today? He had just done the same talk for like an hour and a half in another location. and he followed a very famous, popular person. He's like, that's a hard act to follow. And he's like, everything in me didn't want to be up here doing this. And he's like, if I came up here and I said that, you wouldn't have liked me. I wouldn't be forming an alliance, because when he first went out there, he kind of did his shtick and he won the audience over. Now, here's why I'm not completely convinced. I think it's contextual. And sometimes you do have to fake certain things contextually, especially in a work environment. But I am the type of person that can see through bullshit in 10 seconds flat. I know when somebody's faking. I will watch two people interact and walk away and be like, person A despises person B. I can see it a mile away. A blessing and a curse. I don't know, I guess it's a superpower. I'm very attuned to subtleties and nuances in tone of voice, mannerisms, behaviors, the subtle energy over the energetics of an environment. I can tune right in. I've walked into places and been like, nope, do not like how I feel, I'm gone. When I was a kid, I used to do it all the time. My family thought I was crazy. No one understood my sensitivities because they were way more heightened as a kid, because you just don't know how to handle it. And I didn't have anybody giving me the tools, until I was much, much older. So I would be around somebody and scream and cry and like beg to be removed from the room or taken out of the house. So I've always had this, it's HSP, highly sensitive person. I guess we can say it's that. My human design is also very much in the trajectory of all of this. But I'm not going to digress. I'm not going to dive into that. Look at me go. Oh, I want to so bad. This is my bad side. Gentle pat on the back of congratulations for not losing my train of thought. So I'm not fully on board with what he was saying. I'm not fully convinced, because if I were and again, I'm a small percentage of humanity. So this is why I feel like my opinion almost is kind of irrelevant, because I think he was talking to a different audience where it's the majority. Like I would say 70 to 80% of people, he would have lost them. Whereas someone like me, if he came out and he was like, I really didn't want to be here and I was having a really bad day, but now I'm standing out here in front of you all. Like there's a way to be authentic and make it applicable, make it to where you're winning appraisal and you're winning people over. I mean, one of my favorite yoga teachers used to come and grumbling all the time. I thought it was rip-roaring hilarious. I'd be crying laughing. She'd be F-bombing everything and the effing traffic. And, you would go into other studios and teachers would be like, talking about like, do you go into Nadi Shodhana breathing when people on the road are upsetting you. And I just love this other woman's humanity. She was like F-bombing and I was like, yeah, that's real life. That is the meat and bones of being a human being. You're not always going to slip into alternate nostril breathing on the road. Sometimes you're going to be flipping people the bird or mumbling under your breath at least, or saying something out loud. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I'm a New Jersey driver. I feel like that's like just in our DNA. It's in our DNA. But I think you know what I'm saying. I think you catch my drift. He could have come out and said his piece and then flipped the script and turned it into like, but I'm out here and I'm feeling the energy of you all and I'm feeling so connected to you now and I'm just so grateful. So the only thing I can analogize that to is Jayutal is a kirtan chanter. And I'm not really into that stuff now, but when I was very heavy, and I love it and I love him, but I'm just not my jam anymore. I feel like a lot of yogis and spiritual people, they go through, there's like stages of spirituality, I call it, and then you kind of zip yourself back onto planet Earth and both feet grounded. And I don't mean to say that and offend everybody, but all of that stuff was not grounding for me. It wasn't practical enough. It didn't bring me into alignment. I felt like it just took me into places that I didn't need to go. So Jayutal, maybe that was my little rant. But I'm never, my intention is never to insult anybody, or, I'm not here to hurt anyone's feelings, although I'm going to, and I often do. I often ruffle feathers and rock the boat. It's just in my nature, because I have that little bit of rebellion and I push up against authority and rules to an extent. I think that's healthy. But so Jai Uttal, I went to see him in New Hope, Pennsylvania, one of my favorite places ever. And he's such a doll, Jai Uttal. And he came out on stage and he sat down. And before he did anything, he said, I have to be honest with you. I really didn't want to be here tonight. And his wife is Brazilian. And so that's relevant because he said, like, and I don't know if you know, but I am married and my wife is Brazilian. And she said to me in her beautiful, like, sensual accent, whatever she said, to uplift him and tell him, I think you're wrong. It's a feeling. You really do want to be there because you know what you're doing. You know your music is healing. And all of these people bought tickets to see you. And whatever she said, the magic that us women hover over our men, she sent him off on his merry way. And he said, I really didn't want to be here. And this is what my wife said to me, and she was right. And he's like, I'm sitting out here looking at all of you, and my heart is just filled with so much love and gratitude. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. That is real authenticity. I think what this other gentleman was referring to, Mark Bowden, I think, no, nobody would be turned on by that. Nobody would be turned on by paying all this money to see a TED Talk and a guy coming out and being mean and grumbly. I think you can be authentic about tough things and hard emotions and the reality of life without being negative or completely cynical. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I can be super cynical about things. I am. Sometimes it takes me a hot minute to wrap my head around the atrocities of the world or things that happen. And I try not to put my I hate everybody t-shirt on. I always used to, my kids will look at me and be like, is this an I hate everybody t-shirt moment? Is this an I hate everybody t-shirt day? And I'd be like, yeah, it is. Cause this says it all. It's always here, always. So I don't know. You tell me what you think. I mean, that's, what I liked him, because that's ballsy. That's bold to get up on stage and be like, you need to be a little bit fake. You need to be a little bit authentic. And it was kind of what Trevor Noah was saying in a different way, right? Because sometimes we're all saying, a lot of times we are saying the same thing in a different language. If you look at the heartbeat of religions and you look at the heartbeat of like indigenous cultural practices like Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, they have the meat and bones of their processes and procedures and how they diagnose and treat, etc. But we're all saying the same thing. It's all connected, and you can't treat one without the you got to treat the whole, right? You got to treat the whole. And in, say, different denominations of Christianity or religions, God is at the heart of it. Jesus is usually at the heart of it. I mean, I know some pay homage to the Holy Spirit or the Blessed Mother, and not all. But we're all saying the same thing, that faith is important. Faith builds a foundation. Faith creates stability. Faith can very much keep a family or a couple together. So oftentimes we're saying a lot of the same things in a different language, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because I was a little bowled over that somebody was going on stage and saying, hey, yeah, be a little bit fake and don't worry about it because this is what we have to do. And again, as a quick reminder, his reasoning was because we as humans are primed for indifference. Do you agree with that? Now we're going back 9 years. The world has changed a lot in 9 years. I don't know if I believe that we are primed to be indifferent. I was never an apathetic person. I went through apathy during a lot of trials and tribulations where it seemed like God just kept sending me, tsunamis repeatedly. I say God sent it to me like it's all his fault. Believe me though, when I cross over, I'm going to live, by the way, till 155 because he doesn't want to hear my mouth. Trust me, he doesn't. He knows I have such a laundry list. I never leave him alone, poor thing. But I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe that we are primed to be indifferent and apathetic and uncaring and unkind? Do you believe that? Because I just don't. And maybe these are my rose-colored glasses, but I believe in the inherent good of humanity. Am I being naive? You can call me out. You can tell me. I'm not going to get mad. This is an open dialogue. I don't come on here, by the way, and ever think that I'm right. Ever. I am open to being wrong. I am open to being challenged. I am open to changing my mind about things. There are things that I feel very definitive about, and I might push up against it. And then I might come back a week, a month later and be like, I totally see your point of view. I think I was wrong about that. So are we primed for indifference? And how do you feel about being given permission to be a little bit more inauthentic and a little fake to save face? What do you think about that? I really want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. I love y'all to pieces. Send healing to my back and shoulder, please, because really, I just can't. I can't take anything. That's how sensitive I am. I'm using homeopathy and I'm doing other things, but I need to kick this because I'm teaching 12 to 15 classes a week. Help me, help myself. Love ya.